Do not be afraid. Fight for your families, your sons and your daughters, your wives and your homes. That's what Nehemiah 4:14 reminds us. And did you know we are celebrating 40 years of doing that exact mission at the Family Foundation of Virginia? Don't miss today's exclusive talk from Victoria Cobb, where she shares reflections on our humble beginnings in a basement, courageous wins in the courtroom and the General Assembly, and bold truth-telling that sparked national headlines. Plus, why did Loudoun County drop the sexual harassment charges against a Muslim student but doubled down on Christian students? We'll talk about all this and more from the Family Foundation. I'm your host, Candy Cushman. Well, welcome to Speak Up Virginia, everybody. Glad to have you with us. I just want to mention right out of the gate here that we are taking a short break leading up to July 4th because of staff's various travel schedules, but we are right back in action on July 9th with our next episode. So enjoy today's show, share it with everyone, use our Speak Up Virginia podcast playlist on YouTube. And with that said, Victoria, I know we have a special speech we're going to share where Victoria really does a wonderful job sharing in the inspirational overview of the real life people who've been impacted by the work that Family Foundation does and their stories and how they have overcome to be able to live out their faith in public. So looking forward to sharing this exclusive speech from our Nova dinner that we have. But before we get into that, I did want to see if you could bring us up to speed real quick on the latest development in Loudoun. This just keeps going on, and they've done something else crazy here.
Yeah, so I have some good news, and I have some, it's Loudoun County, bad news, of course. So our listeners hopefully will recall that we had a situation with our Founding Freedoms Law Center is representing 3 boys in Loudoun County, just 15-year-old boys who were secretly recorded by a girl who was in the boys' locker room, and basically she was identifying as a boy, and they're questioning why she's in the locker room. So these boys, instead of getting the protection they deserve because she's videoing them in a private space, and also she shouldn't be there, but besides that, instead of all that, they got brought up on Title IX sexual harassment charges. And so folks probably remember us talking a little bit about this. So there's some good news. The good news is actually that LCPS, Loudoun County, has dropped the charges for one of the boys. So one of the boys, no longer, he's considered innocent, free to go kind of thing. But shockingly, they have doubled down on the other 2 boys. And they have added an additional charge that is sex-based discrimination. So no new facts have been presented. Nothing new has been added. The facts are the same between the 2 boys that are still being under investigation and the boy who was claimed innocent. Right, but so we've doubled down.
Enlighten us. What is the only difference that we can see here between the boy that has had the charges dropped and the ones that have actually had things added?
Literally, the only difference our attorneys can find is that the boy who's had the charges drop is Muslim, and the 2 boys who are still under investigation are Christian. Why that impacts this at all, we have no understanding of why that could possibly be relevant.
Yeah, and we're thrilled that the attorneys have succeeded here in getting these charges against the 15-year-old boy, Muslim boy, dropped.
Super happy. 1 out of 3. But we're going for 3 for 3, though.
But they got to be called out on what appears to be a form of discrimination.
Yes.
Because all 3 of these boys they're expressing discomfort out of their faith-based, beliefs.
Yeah.
And so I'm not a lawyer, so I can do this. I'm going to speculate. The school district has been under tremendous pressure. Everyone knows this is outrageous. So I guess they tried to just cover themselves where they could, maybe? Or what is your takeaway from this?
I can't even fathom adding a charge when there's no new facts and them releasing the other boy. So in one sense, it's like those 2 boys should have been innocent on the same charges that the Muslim boy should have been, that this other individual should have been. And so it should be done. But they're adding something additional with nothing new in the case. If something additional is for the 2 boys, you'd think they would have added an additional charge to the one that they have now released. So we have a mess, but I am quite sure that our Founding Freedoms Law Center is going to work this through, and they're going to get these boys the innocence and the the exoneration that they deserve. Because this, again, just to remind people, this follows kids around. This is, should they be found guilty, which this isn't quite a court of law, but should they be found guilty, this goes on their record. This affects their future.
Yeah, sexual harassment
on
a
or
15-year-old boy, or
discrimination.
Anything with the word sex on your record.
I mean, frankly, you get suspended or expelled from school. That affects your college applications.
Yeah, that happens. Yeah,
all consequences are concerning.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, so stay tuned. We will keep you updated on what's happening with this case, but we appreciate your continued pressure on the school district to drop these ridiculous charges and change their radical transgender policy to make all the kids vulnerable. This girl, the boys, it's all a situation they shouldn't be in, and left to navigate by themselves. And I'll just mention that if you want to stand behind these boys and advocate for changing these policies, you can do that. And here's how. If you live in Loudoun County, and if you're just somewhere else in the state, there's ways that you can weigh in. So go to our familyfoundation.org website, familyfoundation.org. Look for the Protect Our Boys banner. You can't miss it. And then if you click on that, you'll see an action center where you can, if you're in Loudoun County, email the school board, or you can sign a statewide petition if you're in a different county that we will be sharing with school board members. So I think that all of your voices need to be heard right now, and this is a good effort to communicate that the public stands behind these families and against policies that are discriminatory and that leave kids unprotected. So Victoria, with that said, the whole reason that our legal team is able to do this, to defend, to fight for these boys and their families, is because of support from our listeners who do our calls to action, and also a lot of times follow that up with financial support, whatever it is, whether it's a one-time gift or monthly, that enables the legal team and everything else that we do here, whether it's me doing Speak Up Virginia or the policy down at the General Assembly defending families. And you talk about the work that we've done for the last 40 years.
Yeah, I mean, certainly our Northern Virginia dinner is part of an overall effort that we do need to raise funds. And we are right now at the end of our fiscal year. So yeah, all these things, sharing the value that we're able to bring to this fight. I think it's been wonderful to have so many supporters over the years. So the bottom line is that we're going to have bigger battles ahead. And that's what I think folks need to know in this moment is these Loudoun County boys are just an example of one of many. My speech contains some other examples that we're going to share of just all these battles. And we know we have huge daunting battles on things like the abortion amendment and the repealing our traditional marriage statement out of our Constitution. We have big battles ahead. So appreciate everyone's support of this organization.
So if you want some fire in the belly encouragement today, you won't want to miss this speech, because Victoria shares examples of actual people in their communities who have made a real difference. Without further ado, here's Victoria's speech.
It is so great to be back in Fairfax. As we enter our 40th year as an organization, I can't help but think we've come a long way since the days of Walt Barbie and his lovely wife Margaret, who were fighting for parental rights out of their Fairfax basement. Some of you remember those days, and some of you, this is your first time joining us. And so to both, we welcome you, and we are honored that you are spending your evening with us. We are so glad to have been joined by our governor tonight. He has been a bulwark against the insanity thrown at us by the Virginia General Assembly. We know it's not always easy. We know it's not always popular, but we really are thankful to our governor for being that stalwart defender of life, of parents, of liberty here in the Commonwealth. It has not gone unnoticed or unappreciated. So his team is here, and we're grateful to them as well. When Walt started this organization, he was fighting what was taught in family life education. Now, at least back then, the trash was confined to one subject. Now, it's in the ABCs that are on the wall of West Springfield High School, where the A stands for abortion and the T stands for trans woman. Now, I have to think back in Walt's days, unlike now, Fairfax academics weren't so bad that anybody would have thought that you needed ABCs on the wall of a high school. But seriously, back then, although he fought for a parental opt-in to family life education, at least there was a parental opt-out of family life education. And unlike our friend just over the border in Montgomery County, Maryland, Walt didn't have to be at the United States Supreme Court battling against his 4-year-old having to read a book where they're supposed to find images from a word list, like words like intersex, leather, and queen, as in drag queen. The case argued just last week at the United States Supreme Court has the potential to affirm parental rights in a transformative way. Like Montgomery County, Maryland, we know that Fairfax Board of Supervisors has also toyed with the idea of teaching gender issues all the way down to kindergarten. Although we don't trust them, we still don't trust them, we are pleased that they at least disbanded the entity that was poised to make those heinous recommendations. Recommendations, by the way, that would have countered overwhelming parental response to surveys that said they did not want the county to move forward. At least for now, due to the outcry by our Speak Up Fairfax team and others, they've at least hit the pause button on the insanity that's come before them with these ideas. It's that ridiculousness that actually had our Fairfax mama bear, Kaylee Whitebrook, speak out at the General Assembly at our Mama Bear press conference this year. Her message that Fairfax County Public Schools can't be trusted with her little ones must have hit a chord, because she found that our video of her was viewed in millions of homes on the internet and in Fox News. With us tonight, I just want to hope that you would join me and publicly thank Kaylee for her bravery. We will never know if the outcry generated by her video, by her bravery at our press conference, is responsible for the Fairfax board stepping down from their pathetic pursuit, but it just might be. Truth spoken with conviction still has power. Kaylee, thank you. Retreat by Fairfax County Public Schools remind you that even when it seems hopeless, some of these battles can be won. Kaylee's talk, along with others at that press conference, was designed to hold the General Assembly accountable to parents. Thankfully, we were able to pressure the General Assembly to pass legislation to force schools like those in Loudoun County to alert parents within 24 hours of a drug overdose on school property, saving lives from the scourge of fentanyl. Unfortunately, we were not able, or we were unsuccessful, in forcing the same General Assembly to pass SAGE's law, a bill that forces schools to simply notify parents of a child's request that a school comply with the child's confusion or their preferred gender rather than their biological sex. Named after a gender-confused girl drawn into sex trafficking due to a school's failure to notify SAGE's parents, it's shocking that legislators won't move that bill. When it comes to LGBT, I can't even say it, so many letters. You know, you got the plus, the IIA, all that stuff. Anyway, when it comes to that agenda, it seems there's no amount of parental pressure that moves our liberal legislators. SAGE's mom, though, has told us that she will never stop being thankful to our law center for getting SAGE back into her care. But we want to make sure that there will never be another situation like that of SAGE's. But the legislative proposal started with one chamber being entirely unwilling to even put the bill on an agenda of the committee, because if they heard it, they'd have to vote on it. And if they voted on it, they'd have to reveal how out of step they are with their own constituents. They'd have to side with sex traffickers over parents. So, our top-class legislative team, headed up by Dr. Todd Gackey, tried to force their hand. In reviewing all the bills passed by the House and the Senate that were sitting on Governor Youngkin's desk, Todd noticed that one bill was all about parental notification. Now, it was about notification on other issues like guns and medicine storage, but Todd asked our governor governor if he would go ahead and amend the bill to simply add parental notification on matters regarding gender confusion. And the governor did. Amending the bill meant the legislature would have to vote on it once and for all. Now, in an act of utter stupidity, the bill's patron, Delegate Cohen, then said the quiet part out loud in an interview. She called the additional parental rights part of the bill garbage. We're hoping that this has had what we call the Monty Mason effect on her. This refers to when Senator Monty Mason also decided to call parental rights garbage on a hot mic and was promptly taken out of office the very next election. Governor Youngkin certainly knows what it's like to have your opponent trash parental rights and help you usher you into office as well. In an act of sheer political cowardice, though, the liberal Speaker of the House decided that adding an additional item to the other two items that parents are notified was somehow not germane or relevant to the bill, and thus could not undergo a vote. Their desperation to dodge that vote tells you everything you need to know, and it tells you that we are winning on that issue. We are thankful. We are thankful that despite the liberal legislature's unwillingness to set bathroom and sports policies according to God-given biological sex, that our president is putting pressure on school systems, and in particular 5 school districts up here that are under investigation for their non-compliance. Hopefully, relief is on the way. We aren't just winning in the court of public opinion, we're actually also winning in our founding freedom every day. Oh, I'm cutting out again. In classrooms across Virginia, but sadly, mostly in classrooms across Northern Virginia, teachers are asked to sacrifice their faith on the altar of godless secular ideology. Julie Perry, who is here with us tonight, has experienced this. Ashley Pack, who is also here with us tonight, has gone through the same challenge. Ashley Pack, in her situation, Fairfax County Public Schools was seeking to force her to undergo special interactive LGBT training on these issues, including on their radical transgender policy that includes hiding gender confusion transitions from parents. As a Christian, Ashley simply could not confirm that she was willing to comply with these policies because they were a clear violation of her conscience. They're also a violation of state law. After a strongly worded letter, or what my husband, who's an attorney, calls a nastygram, that was sent from our law center, Fairfax County Public Schools backed off and agreed to respect Ashley's convictions and accommodate her. This government coercion requiring teachers to deceive parents and use inappropriate pronouns must stop. And the way it stops is with brave teachers like Ashley fighting back against the system with smart attorneys like Josh Hetzler and Michael Sylvester. Please join me in thanking Ashley. Where are you? Ashley, can you stand? Oh, there she is. Our law center doesn't just represent teachers, though. It serves all sorts of Northern Virginia clients. And I'd like to share with you one other story from our law center. A Muslim imam, a Buddhist priest, and a Christian pastor, all next-door neighbors, walk into their local Northern Virginia building code office. The first two receive permits to build and worship on their land, but the latter receives none. This may sound like the setup of a joke, but in fact, it is the real-life story of a live church in Prince William County who has been going through this for the past several years, only with one minor difference. The Muslims and the Buddhists never even bothered to ask permission in the first place, and yet they're allowed to conduct religious activities on their land without restraint, with the full knowledge of the county. The Christian church, despite its every good faith effort and at great financial and institutional cost, has been kept for years from developing and worshiping on its own property by county officials. I mention this case to you to ask you, to pray for these folks, because Pastor Alan Purdue and his wife are here tonight, and I know they would cover your prayers. Pastor Purdue, where are you guys? Over there. Thank you for your prayers. In Virginia today, it has never been more important that we protect religious freedom, because Virginia needs the church with the capital C, and it needs it more than it has ever needed it before. Please turn your attention to a short video about the state of abortion extremism in our Commonwealth.
Did you know abortion extremism in Virginia is on the rise? In the last 6 years, the annual volume of abortions in Virginia grew 103%. In 2023, 35,000 children lost their lives to abortion. Black women have an abortion rate 4 times higher than white women. There has been a 30% increase in out-of-state abortions. 5 new abortion facilities have recently opened, not including the $1 million property the city of Richmond is trying to give Planned Parenthood for $10, and the new Right to Your Life Satanic Abortion Clinic. Despite safety concerns, Virginia legislators have advanced the abortion amendment to enshrine unlimited abortion in the Virginia state constitution. The Family Foundation is on the front lines fighting abortion extremism at the Capitol.
Hi, this is Josh and Todd here. We're getting ready to go inside to debate a bill that would effectively put parameters around abortion clinics, restricting those from peacefully protesting outside of these clinics and facilities.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Jessie Blakely. I'm here on behalf of the Family Foundation. The proposed amendment to the Virginia Constitution, both the previous one and the amended version, would enshrine extremist no-limits abortion. It is not common sense, and it will result in the loss of human life, not only the lives of the unborn, but also of women seeking care.
The Family Foundation is on the front lines fighting abortion extremism in the courtrooms.
Good afternoon. We are here today because the city of Richmond, at every point in the process, violated the law and their own city ordinances in selling to Planned Parenthood of Virginia a building on Chamberlain Avenue for $10. Moments ago, we came out of the Richmond Circuit Court where we filed a lawsuit against the city of Richmond.
The Family Foundation is rallying thousands to march against the abortion amendment.
It was such an amazing day. We had thousands and thousands of Virginians come out to the Capitol. They were here to stand for the unborn. They were here to tell our politicians that they want a Commonwealth that protects human life. They were here to tell women who might find themselves in unplanned pregnancy that we're here to help, that we want to be part of the solution. And I think their voice was heard.
The Family Foundation is fighting for life in Virginia. Are you?
I hesitate to tell you this, but since that video was created, we've learned that this past year, we've added another 5,000 lives lost to abortion, bringing our annual total nearing 40,000 a year. Despite this permissive environment for abortion, the abortion lobby and its sympathizers are seeking to enshrine the right to an abortion at any point in a pregnancy, for any reason, performed by anyone with no safety standards and no parental consent into the Virginia Constitution. The abortion amendment is not the only harm working its way towards our Constitution. Also proposed is a redefinition of marriage that not only permanently allows same-sex marriage, but also opens the door to force clergy to perform those marriages, and finally separates the notions of sex and gender in such a way that it would pave the way for transgender ideology to be guaranteed as a right in our state's highest legal document. God's people are going to be called on to rise up in a way that they haven't before. Beating back these amendments can be done. It can be done by electing 51 members to the Virginia House of Delegates this November who will go back to Richmond in January and vote against allowing these amendments to advance any further. We are thankful to the candidates we recognized earlier today who are standing up, ready to get into the fray because we need them. At the Family Foundation, we wake up every single morning to remind the people of Virginia, and particularly our elected officials, that embracing God's design for two sexes, male and female, coming together in holy matrimony, and then welcoming new life as a blessing would transform our Commonwealth. It's not just right because God says it is. It's right because it works. It produces a strong, healthy, mentally and emotionally stable next generation that fuels an economy and cares for its elderly. It reduces the need for an over-intrusive, cost-prohibitive government. For years, if you came into our office, you would be greeted with a scripture on the wall. And tonight, I'm going to leave it with you in the hopes that you are inspired to do whatever it takes to join our work. I hope tonight that you will commit your time, your talents, and yes, some of your funds to help with this work. The scripture is from Nehemiah 4, verse 14, and in it, Nehemiah says, "After I looked things over, I stood up, and I said to the nobles, the officials, and the rest of the people, 'Don't be afraid of them. Remember the Lord, who is great and awesome. And fight for your families, your sons and your daughters, your wives and your homes.'" Thank you.
Well, Victoria, thank you so much. That was awesome. I know it's weird to listen to yourself and me thank you, but it was just so encouraging for you to give an overview of what we are doing, how we are making a difference, especially when we're doing it together. Because, we can't do anything without our listeners, the people supporting us, whether it's through an action at our Action Center or just a one-time gift or a monthly gift. So help us understand. I know we're at a little bit more of an urgent time here. We don't usually talk about donations on this podcast. We're usually focused on the issues, but it is a special time with end of fiscal year, I guess I should clarify.
Yeah, our year runs July 1 to June 30th, so it's a little different than a calendar year. But and our goal is always to ensure that we can adequately fund the need, the work that's in front of us. And so we do kind of come up against this June 30 deadline, and our goal is to end the year having covered financially everything we've done. And so the goal is still we are short right now, and so we are trying to raise those last funds to just make sure that we don't start the next fiscal year sort of behind when we know the challenges are huge. I mean, the Law Center, we've mentioned cases they're in the middle of. We've mentioned the abortion amendments coming up. There's just so many things and needs that we already know are around the corner, and also just it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for folks to think about being part of the partnership. A lot of folks are partnering in their prayers, partnering with their action, but maybe they haven't yet said like, oh, I value the podcast. I think these, representing these Loudoun boys is really important, and it does need to be funded. So maybe this is an opportunity for folks to step into that kind of a partnership. And it doesn't have to be, I think it can be intimidating. Any amount is helpful, right? This is the thing. Maybe we don't pray every day, but every time we pray, it matters. Same thing with giving. Just when you can, what you can is really what makes this work go. And a lot of our best and most important giving is actually folks that just do a monthly gift. And that's because you can count on that. You can budget for that. You kind of can plan around that. And so, that's a way to do that as well. And we probably need to tell people how to engage that way.
Yeah, it's really easy. If you go to our website, familyfoundation.org, I think we're going to put an image up here on the screen so you know what to look for. You'll see right there at the top of the page a place where you can do a recurring gift or a one-time gift. But it's really easy right there at the top. So just look for the yellow and green donate buttons when you go there, familyfoundation.org. And, we just want to thank you for every way that you've supported us, whether it's sharing the podcast, taking an action, or donating, because it really is humbling when you think about it. The work of a nonprofit ministry like this It doesn't happen we can't do it without you. It is truly a partnership. We're doing it together, and that's why when I always say we are stronger when we speak together, it's not just a saying, it's really true. So thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you next time.